Hi, folks. Here we are, and I'm with Paul Avins, who is in Oxford, in England. Paul is Managing Director of Team Dynamics. Now, I'm going to get Paul very shortly to talk about that, but just by way of background, Paul was the #1 action coach worldwide 10 or 12 years ago, but has gone on to make a massive difference right across Europe. Paul, welcome to the Sell, Serve, Prosper Radio podcast.
Well, hey, it's great to be here, and thanks very much. That was a lifetime ago, and I was, just to be clear, for a factual evidence, I was the #1 coach in the UK as opposed to worldwide. I was in the top 5 worldwide, but that was like a lifetime ago, mate. I've been out of that world for nearly 11 years now. So, yes, very different version of me, and very blessed to have this opportunity to share with you and your audience today, specifically around the whole kind of element of teams. So, yeah, really kind of pleased to share with you today, mate.
Mate, thank you. Well, as you know, I was up, my wife and I came and visited you a month or so ago up in Oxfordshire, Winston Churchill territory, and we had a fantastic meeting. So, mate, just give us a bit about your background, particularly in the area of sales and business, because the Sell, Serve, Prosper podcast really is about helping people sell more, serve more, so that they create prosperity for themselves, their families, their communities, and even the world. So tell me about your background, particularly in the area of sales and business.
Okay, so in terms of sales, I think sales has always been a passion of mine. It's always been something I've been into since I was very young. In fact, my father would tell you that the first sale I ever made was selling my collection of Smurfs when I was 7 to my sister. And I would say, actually, what I did was, it wasn't a sale, it was a lease back, because I allowed her to pay me every month to keep them. So I would say it was a bit clever like that.
Wow.
But I kind of, I've always identified and connected with this idea of serving through selling. And I've been a great believer that selling is one of the greatest professions on the planet. If it's done correctly and elegantly and in a way that actually is selling the way other people want to buy and helping people make the right decision. And really, selling is really about solving problems. So I've been doing that all my life through the different businesses that I've owned, some that have been, stratospherically successful, others that have absolutely been a huge disaster and failure. So I've been blessed. I've had some great success and I've had some pretty painful failure. But at the core of that is I've really been involved with selling, whether it's selling physical products, like I built a business that was doing £15 million selling burglar alarms in the home. So I've sold in people's living rooms when you're dealing with the television as a distraction and the family and the dinner and all that. I've also sold in boardrooms where I've sold high-level consultancy programs. And obviously for the last 15 years, I've been involved in selling well over about nearly $8 million plus worth of sales or consultancy training, coaching and mentoring services through my own brands and companies that I set up 15 years ago. So really kind of selling the intangible, the invisible, those things that you can't always see, it's kind of been something I've become passionate about. And obviously I wrote a whole book about it just a while back. So I wrote a book called The Authority Guide to Trust-Based Selling, because fundamentally the biggest currency that's out there right now is there's a lack of trust, right? We don't trust anybody. We don't trust politicians. We don't trust the banks. We don't trust governments. And we certainly don't trust salespeople, because they're obviously on commission. And actually the skill of being able to generate trust with a potential client, and really getting them to trust us and see us as an expert advisor, I think is one of the most powerful skills you can learn in today's economy. So that's a skill, you can learn it, and it can be something that can be transformative when you're truly a trusted professional by people that you interact with and people you serve. And when they see you as somebody who will give them genuine, authentic advice, I think that's an incredibly special place to be in the relationships that I've had with clients over the years that we've served and continue to serve, who see us as that trusted advisor. That's my journey really has been through selling everything from physical, domestic, boardroom, whether it's selling yourself, selling a product, selling a service. Fundamentally, it's about building trust, and that ability to connect, really understand and kind of connect, collaborate, convert potential clients is, for me, I think, is one of the highest paid skills on the planet. And it's one that most people, for me, have too many beliefs that are now out of date about how you do it.
Absolutely. Well, as you say, Excel, Serve, Prosper. 99.9% of us go through our kindergarten, primary school, high school, college, university, and not 1 minute is spent teaching people how to systematically go about sales. And so in one of your other books that you kindly gave me when I was with you, the Business SOS, you can see I've marked it in so many different places. There's one particular great piece that you quote a fellow by the name of David Sandler when he says, if you don't have a system for selling, you're at the mercy of your customer's system for buying. Can you elaborate on that? Because clearly that's one of the key things that really motivated me, being I was an average to hopeless salesperson. So that's why I wanted to create a color zone system. What is the system to actually follow to give you a chance of solving the customer's problem and at the same time making a sale? So can you talk me through your thoughts on this idea of having a system for selling and it all be at the mercy of the customer's buying system?
Yeah. So I think I love that quote, and obviously Sonder is an awesome training organization as well in the sales arena globally, and they do some really cool stuff. And I always think it's important to credit source when you hear something cool in terms of where it comes from. But for me, the system for selling is too many times I've worked with salespeople and sales teams where they're just, and you've probably seen this too, Leigh, where they just rock up and kind of there's no structure for the call, there's no structure for the conversation. And the first piece of that formula in S is for sales is structure. You know, you've got to have a structure for the meeting. You've got to have a structure for your offer. You've got to have structure for the conversation, because most people, when they interact with you for the first time, they have no idea how that meeting's supposed to go. So if you don't go in with a really clear structure of what you're trying to do and how you're going to engage with them and get them to open up and actually start to share with you what their real issues are, if you don't have a structure for that, then you're going to be struggling for the whole of your career. And, I love what you say about sell, serve, prosper, because money flows to value, right? That's what happens. Money flows to value. And if you're a product pusher or you're somebody who's constantly in promotion mode, the value dries up because people don't see you as being value. So therefore the money doesn't flow to you. So for me, it's about having a structured approach when you walk into a meeting. So when I walk into a meeting with a potential client, I view it very much like it's an exploratory meeting. And I'll say so, that it's, look, I'm here to figure out whether or not I can help you solve your problems. And I might not be able to. Listen, not everybody I meet I can help. Not everybody I meet is an ideal customer of mine. And I think that's a mindset shift in itself that too many people struggle with, because they think they have to convert everybody. And actually, we've all had experiences, and I'm sure you have, where you've converted a customer that you really wish you hadn't about 3 months later, because they're a nightmare to look after. They don't really appreciate you. They don't have that value piece. And they don't see you as valuable, and therefore they just become a drain on your energy. And for me, I go into those meetings going, look, I'm evaluating you as, are you going to be a great customer I'm going to want to work with, as much as you're evaluating me as a supplier and somebody you could potentially partner with to solve your problems. And that's how I have that mindset going in. So I think, first of all, before you even get to the structure piece, I think you've got to have the right mindset in terms of how you walk into that meeting. And then you've obviously got to pre-frame the meeting and outline the journey. We call it in the sales dynamics training that we do, we call it the journey to trust. Because is that, you and I have heard this phrase before, that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. The challenge is that most sales professionals don't understand the steps in that journey to trust and how to take that customer on that journey. And it's a critical piece, right? You've got to be able to understand, what does that journey of trust look like and how do you take them on that? And that's about having the right structure. It's about having the ability to understand and really assess. And that's what the A stands for in sales is are you able to ask the right questions to assess and get agreement that there is a problem, right? Not just that there is a problem, but that they actually want to solve the problem, because some people will have a problem and they're not that bothered about solving it, and B, they don't have the budget to solve it. So you've got to get agreement that there is a problem, that they do have the desire, and if the desire is high enough to solve it, and that they have the resources and the money to be able to pay for it. Because if they have the desire but not the resources, obviously it's going to be a very difficult conversation to move to the point of conclusion if they don't have the budget to pay for things. So there are lots of times when we don't get that agreement up front that there is a real compelling urgency to deal with this issue, or that there even is a clear issue and what it is. And I think unless you get that agreement, then there's no way you can move forward in the sales structure to that particular point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about, do they see value in solving the problem? How important is it? And how committed are they to actually solving the problem? But again, all the things you're talking about, as I say, so many salespeople or people out there trying to feed their families using sales as their job have had little or no training. I'm working with some guys selling $1 million apartments at the moment, and both the guys have only ever learned on the job. Isn't it? Don't you think it's somewhere between a crime, negligence, and insanity that there are people out there trying to feed their families who have not been exposed in any systematic way to the very things you and I talk about?
I think it's a massively missed opportunity. I think so. There's a great piece of research that was done a couple of years ago. I forget who did it, but it's where they interviewed 5,000 buyers of business-to-business services, right? And the research said that about 19% bought because of the brand, because they were buying into the brand. But 53% of the entire buying decision was based on the relationship that was had with the person that they were talking to, the person who was advising them. And I think that could be a salesperson, that could be a business owner, because business owners, if they're out there building their business, and I've built multiple businesses from scratch, over 7 now, then you're out there trying to get people to buy into your vision of what you're trying to do. So, selling is not just about selling for a customer. You got to sell your team. If you want people to come and work for you, it's about selling people on the vision. It's about selling, selling turns up in so many different ways. You want to raise money to grow a business, you've got to sell the bank on the fact that you're trustworthy in order to get the money. Now, for me, it's like if you don't understand how to sell your team on the projects that you've got, and you don't understand how to sell the bank on funding what you're trying to do, you're going to have a really tough time of it, because your entire amount of money is going to come just from customers. And at some point, we all need investment, or we all need team, and we all need other people, right? And the key for me is it's about this leverage piece. It's about understanding that actually, if I'm going to help take you on this journey of trust, I need to sell in the way that you want to buy. So as you can see behind me, there's the talent dynamics square that we use in our training. And it's about understanding that most people sell the way they like to buy. Yes. And this is the sin. If you want to talk about sin, is that most of us think that everybody buys the way we buy, and that's just not true. So this is why we often say to sales managers and owners of businesses, listen, if you learn the system we have for selling, which is teaching people how to really connect with their individual buying dynamic, you can increase sales by 300%. Because we've had that evidence before, and the reality is that most of us are selling just one way, and therefore you're losing the rest, 3/4 of your audience, because your audience isn't connecting with what you're saying and the way that you're saying it.
Brilliant. And just stop, because obviously, that's when we're talking about here in the orange zone. What do we do in that meet and greet? And literally, if I just share my screen with you, what I have sitting on my computer is this that fantastic guide that you've created, the Sales Dynamics Quick Guide, is just so good. So maybe this is what you're talking about, isn't it? The ability to read the play, who am I dealing with, and what are the do's and don'ts in dealing with each of those personalities. I think that's absolutely brilliant what you've done there. And obviously, if people want to get a copy of that, what's they go to teamdynamics.com to get a copy of that?
teamdynamics.com and go to the resources page. They can get that for free. They don't have to opt in. They don't have to give me an email address. Obviously, if they want to download the ebook and the video training that goes with some of our resources, then they can. But I'm just a great believer in share value and help people. And ultimately, I don't believe everything should be behind a squeeze page. Sometimes I just think you've got to give away really cool stuff that's going to help people. So we put that guide together. And we put it on the resources page, and you can just go get that, which is
brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Because as you say, that front end of some people say, I want to close more sales, but there's, it's literally, we say, don't worry about how you close. If you don't open correctly, you're going to make it twice as hard or 100 times harder to close it. And as you say, there's a whole journey, not the least of which is that needs discovery journey that follows. the develop rapport and read the buying style of the other person.
Right.
What are your comments around that?
Well, I completely agree. And I think that there's this outdated language pattern that you see in sales and sales training that drives me crazy, where people say, I want to close more sales. Well, closing has this assumption that you're a piece of prey that I have to trap, right? That I have to go after you and trap you. And my point of view is, look, I want to be a magnet, and I want to attract, not trap. I want to attract you towards me because you want to do business with me, because you see that I can add value to you and what you're doing, and that you're prepared to exchange your money for my value, right? That's the conversation I want to get to. The best meetings I ever have, Leigh, is when at the end of the meeting, someone says to me, great, so how do we get started, Paul? How do we get going? Because we're in. But when people buy, you've done your job, right? As a sales advisor, as an expert advisor, you've done your job when people say, I'm in, I want to buy. That's the best kind of selling, in my opinion. If you have, the 21 ways to close a sale, and my point of view is, if you need 21 ways to close a sale, you've done a really bad job of every other bit of the sale, because you shouldn't need 21 ways to close a sale. I've done over $4.5 million of consulting and coaching sales in the last 3 years alone, using what's in this book. And the close in the book I talk about is just really simple, right? It's like, great. So, based on what I've outlined, do you think that we could work together? Am I somebody you'd want to work with? Yes. Great. I think you'd be a good fit as a client. And do we feel like actually, you can see value in the services, and is the value I'm outlining going to solve your problems? Do you feel that's where we're at? And if people say yes, I'll say, great. Do you want me to outline how we get started? That's it. That's the closest. I've made $4 million plus with that simple line. With great. And now that you see value, do you want me to outline how we get started? And people go, yeah, that'd be great, because they don't know, right? They don't know how to get started. So getting started is you just outline the next steps that have to happen. Right. This will happen next. The invoice will be raised. You'll get a welcome pack. Whatever. By the way, that appeals massively to a certain type of buyer that's very, what we call tempo energy, so very grounded, very in the here and now. And they love that. And the reality is that most people don't understand your sales process. So you've got to take them on a journey to say, look, here's what's going to happen in the meeting. I'm big on framing meetings, right? If someone's investing their time with you, you have an obligation to make them feel safe and be in a place where they can trust you and open up. And if you don't, imagine getting in a car with a stranger and then you didn't know where you were going. You'd be terrified, right? You'd be like, where are we going? How long am I going to be in this car? How long is it going to take? Where are we going to end up, right? You'd be worried. You'd be constantly nervous. Are we getting off at this junction? What's happening, right? And most sales meetings are like that because the advisor doesn't ever outline the journey that's going to happen during that meeting, right? And for me, it's about saying, look, let me outline what's going to happen during this conversation. Firstly, going to ask you a load of questions. I'd love to hear about what you're up to and what's frustrating you right now. I'm going to tell you a little bit about us, what we do. I'm going to actually outline how we might be able to help you solve some of those problems. I'm going to tell you some of the things that we could do to solve those for you and what that might look like. And then at the end of that, and this is the key line, Leigh, and I'll give it away because it's so powerful. So if we can both see value in working together, that's why I say, look, if we can both see value in working together, then you know what? Then I'll outline the next steps and how that might work. Does that sound okay with you? And people will go, yeah, that sounds great, Paul, brilliant. Because at the end of it, if I say, look, to be honest with you, I don't think you're the right kind of client for me. I don't think we're actually quite a good fit right now. People will go, well, I really appreciate you saying that. At least, you've been really honest with me. Because we can't help everybody, right? There are some people who are not perfect for us to help. And that's completely cool. But it takes the pressure off me going, I've got to close every sale. No. Actually, I don't. I need to make sure that I leave every meeting having added more value to that person so that I've created somebody who thinks whether they bought from me or not, they got a really great experience and they will then refer me. I've had some of my best referrals from people who never bought from me.
That's interesting. I mean, what you're reminding me of, literally the other week, I got a handyman off Air Tasker to come and do some handiwork around the house. And he actually made a terrible job of painting the garage door. And so my wife was very unhappy with that. And we ended up getting a professional painting group to come in to quote. And the owner of the painting business, Padrini Paints, came and said, you know what, Leigh, I'm just not going to take your money. It's just not worth spending all the money it's going to take to fix that garage door up right now. When you're ready, I suggest, when you want to sell the house, that will be the time to do it. In the meantime, I don't want to take your money. I went, wow, no one, I mean, that's honesty. And of course, you build a much higher level of trust when someone is being prepared to say, no, I'm not going to take your money because it's not going to be worth doing that. Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so in the trust formula, we talk about T stands for transparency, right? You got to be transparent with people. You know, the reality is, you know, unless you're transparent, you are going to get found out because everybody can research you, everyone can look online, everyone can figure it out. And the reality is that the difference in products and service now, which is where the old feature and benefit training was for years, is really minute, because anything you create that you think is unique as a product, it'll be ripped off by other people within 3 months, right? China, you know, somebody somewhere will have copied what you do within 3 months. So where's the point of difference? The point of difference isn't in the product. The point of difference is in the experience of working with you. We are moving to a time in where the economy is more about people wanting relationships that will help transform the results they're getting in any particular area. Buying a house, finances. They want to work with people they can trust to transform the results they're getting. Because the difference in product is negligible. So if you go in thinking it's all about feature benefit, honestly, I can look all that up online. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't know that stuff, because you should know your product, but that's not where your competitive advantage lies. Your competitive advantage lies in being able to read people and being able to frame and deliver value in a way that they go, that's brilliant. I want more of that. That's your job, right? That's how you prosper. That's how you serve. That's how you get to prosper more, by adding more value to other people than you're taking out commercially. And then you have a customer for life. There's a reason why in an industry where most clients stay with people on some of our programs, they've stayed with us for 5 and 6 years, when most people stay maybe 2 years, right? They stay with us because we know how to meet their needs and we know how to keep adding value. And as long as you keep adding value to people and people can go, well, what else can you do to help me? And you've got products for that, you're going to keep customers, right? Simple as that.
Fantastic.
The minute they feel you can't add any more value, the minute I feel like I've got all the value out of you, especially if you're in consulting or anything in that space, the minute they feel like they know as much as you or more than you, they're out. They'll go somewhere else. So
absolutely.
If you're the product, here's my question. The biggest single, how many times are you going on training courses? How many times are you growing your knowledge base in the next year? How much do you invest of your income back into developing you, because you're the product? And
absolutely. Well, as you know, both of us have met through the Roger Hamilton Entrepreneur Institute, where both of us have been heavily involved, and in fact, we're both still involved for the very purpose of Kaizen, continuous and never-ending improvement, as you say, being stretched. So just on that, I mean, you've just done some great work, which is one of my questions. Who coaches you, and what are you doing in terms of your ongoing learning and coaching?
Yeah, great question. So one of the best bits of advice I got given years ago was at an event where the speaker said, take 10% of whatever you earn every year and invest it back in developing you. Well, that was, and I went, I get that. And I've done that for the last 20 plus years of my career. And in some years it's been tens of thousands of pounds on mentoring, and some years it's been hundreds of pounds because business has been really bad and we've been in a really bad place. But I've still always spent, even if it was just $100 a month on books or online stuff. And now with podcasts, there's so much amazing stuff for free. Like wow, how cool is that, right? You don't need to spend as much as you used to spend. However, to answer your question, so I'm in a mastermind group with Russell Bronson, specifically around funnel building and attraction, how to attract clients for the business I own called Funnel Dynamics. So that's for that business. And obviously I'm a global partner with Roger Hamilton around the team dynamics element as well, to help us with building out the team dynamics proposition as well. So, I've had loads of mentors. I still read a book a month. Typically I listen to at least 1 or 2 podcasts every week. So and I've got mentors in different places. So I've got there's a health podcast I love to listen to about health. There's a different one I like to listen to about business. There's a different one I like to listen to about leadership and communication. And I've been blessed to work with some amazing leaders in their field, like yourself. And I've been fortunate to have conversations where I've got great coaching and mentoring from some of my clients. So, the learnings can come from lots of different directions if you're open to them. And you just have to stay open and receptive, right?
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Paul, I'm conscious of your time, mate, and it really has been a fantastic time together. Is there anything you think I should ask you before we wrap up this this podcast together?
I think that the number one, the question that I would love to answer that you didn't ask would be, if you're a solopreneur and you're out there hustling and doing it all yourself, how do you get leverage? And I think that's a question that maybe many of your audience would be listening to if they're the one out there doing it all themselves at the moment.
Absolutely.
And I think,
great question.
so the key distinction, the time when my life really shifted and things really took off for me was when I realized that I had to shift from this me thinking as me, I had to do everything, to what we call the we thinking, where I realized that I needed to build a team and I needed to recruit somebody. Now, whether that was part-time or whether I outsourced the things that weren't my flow, and I would suggest for people on your podcast to do this one exercise, right? Go through a week and look at everything and rate the activities you're doing on a week and ask how in flow, i.e. how much did I love doing that activity? If it's less than 5, you want to put that in together to a job description and then either outsource it, delegate it, find a PA, find a VA, find somebody, an accountant, bookkeeper, whatever it is that you don't like doing, who can take that off your desk and allow you more time to generate revenue. And I think where so many of us get stuck is that we think we have this mindset that we have to do everything. Whereas the reality is actually that keeps us trapped. And actually, if you want to prosper and serve more people, you're not going to do that without a team. I'm blessed to have an amazing team, my team, Team Purple, with people in the UK, people in Eastern Europe. We've got people all around the world, Australia as well. Obviously, we've got a team in Australia now. So the reality is you're never going to serve as many people on your own as you can with a team. So, if you're really passionate about making that dream a reality of prospering personally, but also serving more people, then it's going to come down to your ability to build a high-performing team. And I would suggest that no matter where you're at, get your head into a space of realizing that the biggest journey to success is the shift from me, I've got to do everything, to we are a team, and I need to transition from being a solopreneur to being somebody who builds a team. When you do that, everything changes.
Well, that's fantastic. And so we talked about team, sales system, buying experience, reading people's buying behavior and adjusting accordingly. We've talked about scaling. There's a whole range of fantastic pieces of information in this podcast that people can take with them, not the least of which also is the ongoing investment in ourselves to stay green and stay growing. If people want to touch base with you, is it teamdynamics.com? Is that the address?
Teamdynamics.com. They can get a load of resources on recruiting and bringing on board a team, and there's a 3-part video training series they can get there for free. If they want to connect with me personally, they can go to paulavins.com, and there's links to various free resources. There's a ton of free videos on there that they can watch and consume, and obviously social media, either on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. So, I'm pretty easy to find. Luckily, I have an unusual surname, so it's kind of easy to track me down on social media if you want to find me and connect and collaborate. Love to chat, love to hear what you're up to, love to find a way to serve and add value. So, and obviously they can grab the book on Amazon, so that's on Amazon as well. So.
It's a great book. I've read it about 2 or 3 times now. Fantastic. So, Paul, thanks so much for your time today, and may you continue to self-serve and prosper and help others do the same. Thanks so much, mate.
Thanks, Leigh. Been a great opportunity to share with you. I just, I like to finish every presentation with this phrase that says, you get paid on what you get done. So if you want to sell more, go out and serve more. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.